Okay, you can start.
So welcome everyone. Welcome the viewers from Europe, the viewers from Africa, and also the viewers from other parts of the world watching right now. Very welcome. Also very welcome to the viewers watching via YouTube Live. Welcome to this third and final Youth Forum session of the 145th International Convention on Theosophy. My name is Pauline and I'm from the Netherlands. And I'm acquainted with Theosophy for more than 10 years now. And I'm connected to the Theosophical Lodge of the Dutch city of Nijmegen. And I've been asked to be host for tonight's session. So I will lead you through the program we have for you tonight. And tonight's program consists of 3 talks by different speakers from Europe and Africa. And the talks all go deeper into the topic of becoming aware, its process, its obstacles, and what it means to become aware. And after these talks, we will together further discuss these questions in small discussion groups, in which you can all contribute and express your views on this topic. Now let me introduce the first speaker to you. The first speaker of tonight is Sara Ortega van Vloten, and she comes from Spain. And she says she feels lucky to have been raised in a family much involved in the Theosophical Society. In fact, her grandparents met at the TS European Congress, held in Italy back in 1952. At a time, there were many youngsters. And during her childhood, she heard lots of stories, and she was quite interested in theosophical teachings. Later on, she became a member at 20 years old, and now she belongs to the Arjuna Lodge in Barcelona. A very warm welcome to Sara Ortega with her talk on becoming aware.
Hi, and thank you, Pauline, for the introduction. It is a pleasure to be amongst young TS members from so many places. And perhaps I am convinced that for many of us, since it is the first opportunity to attend an international convention, it is probably going to contribute to be a starting point of bonds that in the future may strengthen when we meet again face to face. So regarding the topic of today's, which is becoming aware, when I was first asked to prepare a speech, I first considered these 2 words, and I was somehow overwhelmed with how much they may be accountable for. And because is it not what we all aim for, to become aware in some way or another? And we may phrase it like to be aware of who we really are, aware of our body, of our feelings, our thoughts and words, aware of our conditionings, aware of what we want to do with the rest of our lives, and even aware of what we are supposed to do, meaning our dharma. And the list may go on for everyone. So I guess that we all reach one or even several points in life when we start to ask questions to ourselves, which are vital and transcendental, soul-moving. And if then we are willing, the course of a life can be a process of self-discovery that is never ending, so to say. So when we start to ask such questions, our thoughts project some kind of vibration, like, for instance, radiating waves when you drop a stone in a pond, right? So by bringing attention in a definite topic, we are also kind of creating a field that is susceptible to that particular area of interest, so to say. And then things can start to change. And then to my mind, it came that the third object of the TS, which states to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in man. I think that this very much has to do with the process of becoming aware, in the sense that to know oneself truly, fully, it might be the most daunting challenge and very difficult thing. HPV also said that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So that in a way implies that one needs to look no farther actually than oneself, and that anyone can start to investigate from within. But of course, that is not an easy task to do. We all know that, right? And to take an analogy, this process can be thought of also as a great work of art. So we can think ourselves as sculptors, for instance. These kind of artists take a raw piece of material, which can be wood or stone, and then cut away that which is not meant to be there. These artists kind of know what is there, hidden within, and they only need to shape its form. So, for instance, I read about an artist who would make sculptures out of busts, meaning the head, shoulders, and chest. And it seemed very strikingly that she explained in detail how she would carve out material while she concentrated on the character of her bust. So she would reflect for hours about its character and its personality, the traits and its soul, and then would cut away accordingly. So in a way, it was not some physical work of art, but also a more holistic one, taking into account all the attributes of a person and its soul. And so to follow that analogy in a similar way, we can think ourselves also as our own sculptors. We can shape ourselves, or rather become aware of our true shape. So from my point of view, a few of the most basic tools that we would need in this process would be attention, compromise, and motive. And so now I'm going to develop a little bit about these three concepts. Since this is a major work of art, following that analogy, it cannot be expected to be fulfilled in a short period of time. And anyone can relate to their own efforts in their own areas of expertise. So first of all, you first have to grasp the main concepts, and then further on, you begin to work out the details, the relationships between them and the subtleties. And so it happens the same thing with our level of attention. Once we start looking differently and observing more deeply and totally, like Krishnamurti has explained, new realizations can emerge little by little, bringing awareness of the movement that takes place within us. And also, patience and perseverance need to be developed as well, since this is a long-term process, perhaps of many lifetimes, of ever watching and ever finding that place where to look from, so to say. And on the other hand, since this can be somehow painful or hard process, because we have to face our own faults and having to kind of sacrifice that personality of our own, both compromise and motive are essential, I think. So it is important to realize what is our motive. And we can ask ourselves, do we want to achieve something? Or do we want something in return? Or why would we put ourselves in this position So what is our motive? And as Annie Besant said, too many times we make believe. It's true, because we tend to think sometimes that we want something, and if we look closely, perhaps we are not really acting accordingly. So again, attention should be focused on our motives as well, in order to be aware of whatever these motives truly are. And not just the obvious ones, but also the ones that you find scratching beneath the surface. And lastly, on the other hand, I think that we can all agree that only compromise and a deep commitment can take you so far. If there is no real commitment, or you are impatient for quick changes to happen, then you are most likely to feel discouraged too soon. But the power of inner conviction, real inner conviction, and understanding that this is worth trying, and when you feel that to become aware is the only choice, it is strong enough then to take you all the way. And with this, it was pretty much what I wanted to say. I'm going to finish with a few words that I listened to recently to Fernando de Torrijos on the last School of Wisdom that was held a month ago, about the practice of mindfulness, which is in fact another way of approaching self-awareness, of becoming aware. And his words were, "Life knows where you are. Life knows where you are." These words at that time really resonated with me, and I find them deep, and that they give away that there is no need to worry too much about oneself. Rather, that if one's purpose is said to be useful to others and one is sincere, life itself will present opportunities at the right time. And, well, not necessarily what we may expect or when we may expect it to happen. But first, our task is to prepare ourselves and to give the best service that we can in our daily lives. So let us put in the work, so to say, as much as we can, and life will know where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for your wonderful talk. Now let me introduce the next speaker to you. The next speaker is Nicoletta Boriello. Nicoletta is a member of the Italian Young Theosophists. Since 2012, she has been interested in meditation and the comparative study of Oriental and Western spiritual traditions. She is currently Vice President of the Theosophical Lodge J. Krishnamurti in Grotta Ferrata in Rome. She graduated in engineering in 2010, and she currently works as an environmental engineer. She has worked as a volunteer for the Italian NGO Engineering Without Borders for many years. At present, she is also interested in agriculture and life in nature, and she is carrying out community projects on these topics. A very warm welcome to Nicoletta Boriello with her talk on becoming aware.
Dear sisters and brothers, it is my greatest joy to be here with you today, representing the Italian Young Theosophists, whom I would like to kindly thank, since it is together with them that we have shared our ideas of the topic of awareness. Sorry, but due to my limit with English language, I'm going to read my talk. There is one communal element that we all come across when we compare our personal life experiences, when we read the biographies of the Theosophists of the past, or when we listen to the stories of those who have ventured upon the spiritual path before us. This communal element is that we have all started our spiritual journeys by asking ourselves meaningful questions. Who am I? What is the meaning of life? What am I made of? Where do my emotions come from? What happens after death? And many others, which reveal a desire to know the world around us. Questions, in general, are a way for us to be propelled forward on our spiritual journey. When we ask ourselves these questions, in order to know oneself, each of us has to be able to tackle a moment of crisis, which become a way for us to let in that light which illuminates our lives and allows our growth in awareness. We acquire a spark of higher awareness when we perceive that there is more than our physical eyes meet, and we look beyond the world's duality and illusoriness by understanding that spirit and matter are the natural manifestation of the one movement, both internal and external, and that we belong to one undivided reality. In this respect, Theosophy provides us with amazing tools, while still not giving ready-made answers. Theosophy is not dogmatic, nor can it give us certainties, as the motto of the Theosophical Society reminds us by saying that there is no religion higher than truth, or, better yet, in the literal translation of the Sanskrit Satyanasti Parodharma, there is no truth, but Dharma. Theosophy, rather, provides us with the tools which we can use to find our own way. It is able to stimulate our evolution and to guide us in finding a sense and the answers to our inquiries. In the process of getting to know more about ourselves, we become increasingly more conscious of the constitution of our bodies. We learn to observe our physical body, our body of desire, and our mind, and we find about the existence of our higher bodies. In our complexity of spirit and matter combined, we understand that, as members of the fifth race of the fourth round, we are almost ready to complete that evolution, which is the conquest of the mind, manas, together with the liberation from desire, kama. And it is here, on this earth, through our personality, that we become conscious of the responsibility we have in being able to change ourselves and, as a consequence, the world around us. If we carefully look at the principles of our conscience, we come to realize that, according to the willpower which we decide to exert, our actions can tend either towards materiality or towards higher states of consciousness. Let me quote our brother Eldon Tucker's words. Raising one's consciousness to union with the divinity comes in stages, as one learns to shift the seat of consciousness from the lower principles to the higher. We likewise sense higher things as a gift via a higher instinct. Now, let's ask ourselves, how can we learn to focus on the higher principles? How can we come into contact with our higher instinct? The three fundamental propositions undeniably represent the best starting point, under which, as Madame Blavatsky pointed out, all phenomena must be considered. But the simple understanding of the three principles does not suffice. It is instead paramount to live according to these propositions. Not only do we need to acquire knowledge, but also to take action and to follow our intuitions, which altogether constitute our awareness. The possibility to elevate oneself towards a higher awareness comes from the inside. To be aware means to deeply feel and perceive that there is something that goes behind the ordinary, which we are not able to explain. It means to understand things with our heart, to open up to the diving and to become conscious of our highest principles. This elevation opens the way for intuition, which then opens the way for awareness, and so on. As I said before, it is not enough to know, we need to be. There is therefore a way of living which we have to pay constant attention to. In this perspective, the physical, sensual, behavioral aspect of our way of being acquires a fundamental role. As theosophists, we need to learn how to encompass the discipline required by meditation and study, together with the responsibility of service and the magic of letting everything flow, so as to make intuitions emerge. Krishnamurti's thoughts and teachings can particularly help us with this latter aspect, as they provide us with a method, that can help us decode reality and correct our thoughts and actions. This will make us find our answers in personal experiences and not in theories. In our everyday life, at work, with our family, or in our relationships with our friends and the people we hang out with, we tend to identify ourselves solely with our personality and to pursue pleasure while avoiding pain. We don't always find total fulfillment in our life. We often find ourselves in discomfort, without realizing that this often happens because we are too engrossed in satisfying our senses, to the point that we forget who we really are. Krishnamurti's fundamental teaching is that we should observe ourselves without terms for comparisons, without judgment. It is through this identification that we can attain the perception of what really is. And by doing so, we can accept and understand the universe and its laws. Krishnamurti said, "The beauty of the universe is in the what is, and to live with what is without effort is virtue." For what concerns awareness, the process we should be able to carry out, according to Krishnamurti, is that of being passively aware, which means to be impartial when facing our conscience. We need to be constantly alert without worrying about choosing what is right and what is wrong. In this way, we will be able to observe the problem without identifying with it, and only then will it reveal its true nature. Most of us are actually incapable of entering this state of passivity because we cannot be impartial. On the contrary, we usually let prejudices, ambitions, and repetitive behavioral patterns influence us. When faced with this difficulty, Krishnamurti's suggestion is to focus on the observation of our thought process itself. This should allow us to understand ourselves in relation to the problem. We therefore need to be constantly aware, second by second, of our thoughts and feelings. Our mind needs to understand itself and its own functioning, and only then can the unknown become known, and we will be aware of what we are. To conclude, we know that it is through this identification that we can have access to the higher planes and perceive the beauty of what really is. Every time we'll be able to tune to that intimate faculty which enable us to know without mediations, a spark of awareness will ignite within ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicoletta, for sharing with us tonight. I will now introduce the next and final speaker tonight. And the final speaker is Nathan Kola. Nathan was born in the Zambian town known as Mansa in 1983. He got to know the Theosophical Society through online readings on the internet while searching for more information. He says he loved the things he read. However, it did not occur to him immediately that he lived in a town where the Theosophical Society had a physical presence in Kitwe. At a certain day in 2002, he took a walk, and through this walk, he came across the place where the TS Kitwe Lodge was situated. Because of a poster at the main entrance, he was able to take notes of the meeting days and times of this lodge. And since then, he stayed active in the TS Lodge. He says his life in the TS has been very fulfilling for him and has helped him to gain more knowledge, as well as contribute to his social, mental, and spiritual well-being. Unfortunately, Nathan could not be here with us directly, so we have a recording of his talk. So hereby I present you the recording of his talk on becoming aware.
Greetings to you all, my brothers and sisters, from me, Nathan Chola, and from all of our brothers and sisters here in Zambia. I want to begin first with showing off my appreciation for this rare privileged honor to address you all on the theme Becoming Aware. I will begin by posing this question. What shall save me from affliction? True awareness. Shall we look into the meaning of this answer? As long as we are not awakened to the truth of our being, we shall continue to suffer the consequences that come along with this lack of understanding of ourselves. We must first awaken from the belief and idea that God inflicts sufferings upon us. It is this view that makes God being looked upon as one that had it in his power to help, harm us, or likely to harm us if we did not hasten to placate him. This view divorces God from nature, something to be set aside. It's a view which pits Godma against demonstration and blocks the way of a higher conviction that unites God and nature. We have begged God not to give us darkness, but to be pleased to give us only the light, not saying that if there be darkness, it is because something has come between us and the light. Let us stop these begging acts and apply ourselves to the removal of what has come between us and the light. This, for me, is the point of becoming aware. You that have been on your knees praying to God to take the afflictions from you, rise up and stand upon your own feet, while you do what you can to put your afflictions away from you. You have experienced the consequences of your own ignorance of the one true God and your relation to Him. That is all. Your remedy is to know thyself. You, through natural, not intentional, are not consciously in accord with the great principle of your being, God. All your experiences has been the natural consequences of your natural ignorance, for though in your real being you are forever united to God, in your self-consciousness, you are a long way from that unity. Only by finding it do you become truly aware of your being and then dominate where you have been subject. Here is the key to the solution of all life's puzzles. Find your original, fundamental, and eternal unity with God. This is what is sought by all religions and all philosophies. This great necessity of finding is what makes of you a living soul impressed with the different thought patterns of the human race through natural sustainability, the eventual master of them all. You are a soul living from and in that God being that is always one with God. This is the moment of awakening from the deep sleep of who you are. In your real being, you always have been, always will be one with God. As a living soul, rooted in and growing out of this being, you are to find and embody this unity. This is your destiny. You become truly aware of your being when you find, claim, and use this unit relationship to God. Now I am aware that I am boundless, eternal, immutable, naturally glorious being. Thank you all, and I hope you all will have a wonderful experiences during this convention.
So thank you, Nathan, for your inspiring talk. And thank you also to all previous speakers who contributed to tonight's session. So I will go to the next part of this session, and that is the discussion. So now it is time for discussing with each other our own views on what it means to become aware and to share our own experiences in this process with other young people. And to this means, all young viewers will be divided into breakout rooms in which you can share your views with the help of some questions. And these questions I've put on this slide. So the first question we're going to discuss is, what do you find more daring or challenging about the process of becoming aware? And the next question we're going to discuss is, what is the question that you are currently dealing with in your path towards awareness? And the final question is, what are the obstacles of being aware, and how would you be able to remove these? And I hope that these questions will add to an inspiring discussion. This also means that we have now come to the end of the YouTube live streaming. So thank you everyone who has watched this session via YouTube. The live streaming will now be cut